Take me home, country roads, to the place I belong. Ta-da-doo-ah, Aotearoa. Take me home, country roads. I wasn't going to record so soon, and goodness knows how often I'll end up recording, but I ended up working out that I was going to lose track because this last week I finished off so many whips and done so many projects that I feel like I need to present some of them to you. I'm just going to edit out a lot of things because has been quite a lot going on in the old knitting world here from Pongaroa in New Zealand. To those who watched me last week, thank you. I feel quite special. Even if you just clicked on it, I feel very, very special. And thank you so much for joining me on my wee journey of sharing. Just knitting is one of the most positive things you can do. It's so full of love, and because it's so slow. It's slow to process the wool, and it's slow to create the object. And if ever you're gifted something that's knitted, it means you are a very, very special person. Please do not throw it in the washing machine. Even the ones that say that they are machine washable. Actually, I was going to ask something about that because obviously I'm watching a lot of international podcasts at the moment, and they all describe it as superwash. That is not a term I've ever heard of here in New Zealand. I presume it means machine washable, but what I don't know is what do they do to the wool to make it machine washable? Yes, very interesting. Anyway, my name is Megan. Here I am in Pongaroa. It's a village of 100 people in the Tararua district in the North Island of New Zealand, and I'm here to share with you some of the fun things that I'm doing in my life. So I'm just going to get my notebook so that I don't get lost. Well, I will get lost anyway, but it's taken me so long to try and set up the lighting, so I think again my camera is going to turn off every 10 minutes or so, and I'm going to have to just turn it on again and start a new video, because I've worked out that I need the automatic intelligent camera settings to be on, and that's when it goes to sleep every 9 or 10 minutes. So I'm here with a pillowcase over the window, hoping that that will stop the sun blowing me out. And as I say, it's taken so long that I'm already halfway through my wine. But you know, we might as well start this whole podcast thing as we mean to continue, and be honest, that's part of what I love about this thing. The best podcasts are the honest people. In fact, there's one lady I watch, and I won't name her, but she's so depressed. And it just reminds, and I love watching her anyway, and I just really, I think, oh gosh, 9 out of every 10 things she says is a self-criticism. All I can think of is Eeyore, and how Eeyore is still part of the group. So that's the thing about knitting, there's a place for all of us here. There is not enough knitted goods in the world, so we've got a job to do. Anyway, let's start with what I'm wearing, which I wasn't really going to start with, but I actually have a lack of sweaters that I have knitted for myself so far. I get distracted by knitting things for other people, and so I'm wearing something that I wasn't intending to wear. But this is a, what's it called? It doesn't have a very artistic name. I picked up this pattern. Ta-da-ta-da. I picked it up in an op shop, opportunity shop, thrift shop, store, whatever you call them, a few years ago. It is designed to be knitted in cotton. I've never knitted in cotton, so this is knitted in wool. It's a wool blend that I bought from Spotlight, which is a big box store here in New Zealand. I think it's Australian owned. We're sort of yes. Anyway, yeah. So it's quite a nice wool. See, it's a charcoaly colour. I can't even tell you what colour it is because I knitted this so long ago. And it's got little flecks in it. So I think it said, if I remember rightly, it was 90% wool and 10% something else, and the other, I presume that the little flecks of colour are either something else. So there we are. So it's a very, very simple sweater with an eyelet detail and the rolled hem. Now, the eyelet detail was remarkably, it was the first time I'd done it, and it was remarkably easy. However, the rolled hem works here on the neck, but it does not work here. As you can see, it just rolls up too much. So I'm thinking that I need to reblock it again and try and get that hem to come down, but it is a bit annoying, I must say, and it's made me think that perhaps I'm not really into that rolled hem. It looks really nice here, but when it starts curling up at the bottom it just looks a bit untidy and unfinished. So anyway, that's the sweater. I had a whole pile of this wool, which I haven't named for you because it's so long ago, but maybe if I research it enough in my show notes I'll put it in there. And I had enough left over to do a lovely colour block sweater. Oh, I've got the pattern here actually, for my daughter. And that, oh, in fact this might actually even have, yes, what the wool is called. It's called 4 Seasons Wool Blend Naturals 8 ply. Everything in New Zealand is either 4 ply or 8 ply. We don't do worsted here or 12 ply very much, so it becomes a bit of an issue actually when the patterns are coming from overseas, but we produce in bulk different weight yarns, so it's quite interesting. Anyway, so this is what I knitted for my daughter there, and I had enough left over. What was that? Here we are. I had enough left over for the third that I needed for that, so that was quite fun for her. Nice, comfy 19-year-old, 20-year-old jersey. So that's what I'm wearing. It's one of the things I'm wearing, but I'm going to show you the other thing I'm wearing a bit later. There you are. That sounds a bit spicy, doesn't it? But probably less spicy than you think. Anywho, right, so finished objects for this week. The first one I'm quite excited about, and it's been finished for quite a few days and I've been wanting to gift it, but I wanted to record first. So if you see my channel, this is part of this is the banner that I just put on this morning. So this is the Flax sweater, and it's for my boss's granddaughter. Although I did have a bit of a run around with the boss's granddaughter a few days ago, and I'm a bit concerned that this is not going to fit her. She's actually bigger than I sort of thought, but anyway, I'm just hoping for the best. But this is the Flax sweater. There we go. I have a natural wool here that I was gifted, cone that I was gifted from a friend. I'm holding it double with a single ply from Knit and Stitch, a single ply silk mohair, and then I did some duplicate stitch for the front, for the sheep. Okay, so there are my Suffolk sheep, even though Suffolks are really white, but you know, obviously we can't do white here on a white jersey. So we have front facing sheep, left facing sheep, from my point of view, maybe from yours, I'm not sure, and drunk sheep, which I thought is kind of, yeah, anyway, I thought it was cute. I was tossing up whether I was going to do different colours, but I didn't want to sort of make gender statements, and you know, who knows, they might have a little boy next, and if it doesn't fit the wee girl, then it might need to be re-gifted to someone else they know, who knows. Anyway, the Flax pattern was quite exciting to knit, to be honest. It was fun to knit. I want to do one for myself. And in fact, I have enough of this wool to do one in this, you know, just in this natural colour, which I think I quite like. And the only thing I do, well, obviously I'd knit a different size, but I also think that I will add in the German short rows at the back for myself, because now that I've done a whole one jersey with German short rows in, of the no frill sweater that I showed you last week, then yeah, I'm an expert now, no problem. Well, I'm sure they give very good instructions, I'm sure, so that won't be a problem. And I really like, you know, the difference in the lift and the fit, and I'm only really learning about this, the subtleties of it, from watching so many of your wonderful podcasts. So that is the flax sweater for which is about to be gifted now. I can take it to work and pass it on, and hope that they know about hand washing. Right, so the second finished object for this week is, so I have a thing, I have a lot of whips on the go all the time, and I like obviously the new things that you cast on, and the little things that get finished quickly tend to be the things that you're quite motivated about, and then I have a few long-term whips which are slow and a bit annoying, and this is one of those, and I like to do those for my morning knitting. Now, I have a bit of a confession to make, and I feel like I should have a sip of wine when I'm about to confess. That other people do their 30 minutes of morning knitting, I do at least 2 hours. But I do wake up very early because my partner's in forestry, so like I'm normally knitting by 5 AM, and you know, if you get up at 5 AM it's just an extra 2 hours of chores, which would mean my house was clean, but you know, there's only so much of that you can do. So I have been doing this as for the last week as my morning knitting, and I've managed to finish it, and I'm so excited. So here it is. It's completely not the colour that it's coming out on the screen. Who knows what it will come out like for you. This is a leaf lace scarf. It's 160 centimetres long, and I've been knitting it for quite a while actually. Oh, it's got a bit of bark on it, as you do. Right, so it's very light, and it's made, it's kind of, for me, this is a bit of an emotional knit. My mother, as I said in my last episode, my mother gifted me a jersey when I was 14, and that's quite some decades ago, and I still wear that jersey, and it was made with this wool. Now the wool is a lot pinker than it appears on my wee screen there, so it's kind of, it's a difficult colour to really define. It's just got more pink in it than that red, but anyway, it is a pinky red, which is, I'm sure there's a much more artistic term for that. So yes, this is a free pattern by Cayli Harris, who I think is now Kayli Malone. Anyway, I tried to tag her in my Instagram, but I got very confused. It was the same photo, different name, and I thought, oh, you know, which one am I doing? But anyway, there we go. So a little bit about the process of knitting this. Oh, so one of the good things is that I download my PDF patterns onto my iPad Pro, and here you can see, it's so good for charts. You can blow them, you can turn it sideways, blow it up as big as possible, and then just highlight and mark off each row as you go through the chart. You can write notes on it, and you can keep those notes if you want, or you can round them out and start the chart again. So this is, you know, that was a godsend actually, being able to just blow the chart up large. You know, for us people whose eyes start doing weird things all of a sudden when you can't read and you never know which pair of the 6 pairs of glasses that you seem to have are going to work. None of them seem to work, or then none of them are where you can find them at the time that you need them. Anywho, so that was one good thing about the process. The worst part about the process was I hadn't done much. This was only the second piece of lace knitting I've ever done. Now, it wasn't difficult. There were 69 stitches on each row. Sometimes, very occasionally, I would get to the end of a lace row with 69 stitches, but not very often. So I had to regularly count and try and fix it. But I worked out this wool the yarn is very, I don't even know what it is because it's so old. It's very light, very warm, and very fluffy. Oh, in the sun. There it goes in the sun. Oh, I don't know which one you'll be able to see best, or neither. It seems to be still focusing on me. I'll hide behind the cone. There we go. Alright, so that's the wine making me act like that. Or maybe I'm just like that. It was really tricky because it's so fine and the fluff was so comparatively big that sometimes there would be fluff gathered over your needle and I'd think it was a stitch. I think I ended up with extra stitches that way, and normally I ended up with the extra stitches. And I don't know quite what I was doing. And that was right up to the end. I spent like months knitting this thing. Anyway, there was one point last week where I actually counted up, and I obviously hadn't counted for a while. I had 7 stitches too many. I had 76 stitches when I was supposed to have 69. Every row I was supposed to end up with 69, and I had 70. And it was impossible to undo this wool. It was just impossible to undo. So I worked out that you can't really tell. I haven't blocked this, obviously it's curling a bit at the edges, but I think once I've blocked it this week, it will be even more amazing than it is now. But yes, you can't see the mistakes. You really can't. It's just lace and leaves and blobs. Sometimes the leaves are a little bit off centre and a bit uneven. Who's going to look? Nobody's going to look. So it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's so light and so gorgeous. And I do really love the pattern. I would knit it again, but do you know what I wouldn't do? I wouldn't knit it on straight needles with rounded tips. Plastic. You cannot do lace. Like, so I started this with my lovely chalgoos, but I kept needing the chalgoos for socks. And this was such a long-term project, and I was like, it's just a scarf, I can knit it on straight needles. But the only 3 3/4mm straight needles I had were quite long, and which was unwieldy, and they kept catching on things. You know, they catch on things. Yeah, the tips were quite rounded, so it was a bit of a disaster, really. I need to stop fiddling with my fringe. I just cut it. I'd just like to say cheers to all the people in the world that cut their own hair. It's like, it looks worse when I go to a hairdresser, which is really saying something. I don't know. Some of us just have hair that's not tameable. Or, I don't know, maybe it requires a lot more engineering than I'm willing to spend. Oh. So here we are, I chop it with the kitchen scissors in front of in the scullery. There we are. So that's my lace leaf scarf. My second FO for the week. My third. I don't have them here. I made some fingerless gloves. Now, I think I'm going to move to the side here and pray to the gods of editing who are going to teach me how to edit better this week. I'll do my best. Here is a picture. I hope. Oh no, I've got it on my phone, I can just show you. That might be safer. Oh, I'll take my notifications off, you don't need to know that. Right, here's a photo, Oh, there we are. Easy fingerless That's my daughter's wee Haze. Isn't she gorgeous? So, those are Easy Fingerless Gloves by Teodora somebody. Agboola? Agboola. Yeah, Teodora Agboola. And also, was it a free pattern? I think it was a free pattern. And it was a gorgeous pattern. Gosh, it was gorgeous. And it was easy. And it was fast. I was so excited. I'm about to knit some for myself. So I used, again, some stash wool from my mum's stash. So goodness knows how old this is. But I have another 2 balls of this left actually. And it only took just over a ball for my daughter's gloves. So I'm definitely, I can definitely get another 2 pairs. And I want some for myself. Now, so I used classic Bluebell by Patons, 5-ply, colour 4329, which is not very informative, but basically it's a gunmetal grey. Oh, there you are. That's probably upside down, back to front, goodness knows. So it's a crepe. I don't really know what that means. I know what it looks like, but it must be the way they ply it. I did find it a little bit splitty, but anywho, it wasn't hard to knit with, and I like the feel of it. It's just a little bit, what's the word? Crunchy. Like you know you've got woolen gloves on when you put these gloves on. So the only modification I made was the thumb. In the pattern, for some unknown reason, she just kind of stopped and left a hole, and it sort of stretched, and I could feel relatively when I put them on that my thumb knuckle was cold. So I took the pattern out. Well, I looked at the project notes of other people on Ravelry. Thank you, you're amazing. And quite a few said that they put the lovely classic, the twisted rib pattern around the thumb, and I did that, and I also sewed up the hole. There was a gap here, and so I sewed that up. At the first time I followed the pattern, the first glove, and so I had to pick up stitches and then do, I think it was 6 rows of the twisted rib and cast off again. And then I actively had to sew up the hole. The second glove, I knew I was going to be doing that, so I didn't have to cast off. I just carried on with the twisted rib, but there was still a little hole there, so when I was weaving in my ends, I sewed that up. So that was the only thing that I changed. Otherwise, they just look gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. They fit beautifully, and I knitted them in 2 days, and was able to give them to my daughter before I came home from visiting her in Wellington. And I'm going to knit some for me. That's a plan. Right, so I've lost count as to where I'm up to. Okay, it's nearly lambing season, and we have, at the moment we have 11 ewes. They're not all pregnant by the looks of them. Some of them, yeah, I don't know. So we are waiting for some babies, and bless my partner, he sort of said, I've been slowly over the last 4 years building up our a supply of hand knitted jerseys for my lambs, and it's quite funny locally because you say that you hand knit jerseys for your lambs, and all the big farmers, they'll look at you like they've already got woolly coats, and it's like, if those woolly coats were sufficient we wouldn't have quite so many lambs getting too cold and dying in their first day or 2, which does happen quite a lot out here. I don't know what it is, a vet might be able to tell me, but basically you seem to wait for a storm or a frost, and then they decide to give birth to something really small, and often then they wander off. Like, some of them are really good mums, and some of them just wander off to go and feed and go, thank God that thing's out, and leave the little lambs behind, and they're not necessarily in a state to look after themselves or even find their mum. So they get cold. So I've been knitting jerseys, and I think this is the best stash buster in the world because the jerseys don't mind that this is very the lambs don't mind that this is very 1990s. The other thing I found from previous lamb jerseys that I've been knitting is that I really think I sewed that up. I sewed it up like with a ridge on the top. Why did I do that? I don't know why I did that. Oh well, the lambs won't mind. Oh, look at that. Can you see that? I did it inside out. So here's the stocking stitch. This is the back of the lamb jersey. And I've sewed it up that way instead of turning it inside out to do it. Oh well, never mind. It will still keep them warm. I had to remind myself that I wasn't actually needing to be a perfectionist with this particular project because it was just about keeping lambs alive. And yeah, so you know, you can spit one of these out in a day quite comfortably. The previous lamb jerseys I've made, I followed instructions for some boys and some girls lamb jerseys designs because obviously they have a slightly different requirement on the front, on their tummies, because the little boys need a bit more space. But I found that most of the patterns have not said that. Like this one wanted an extra 6 rows of stocking stitch before I started this part of the rib, and I was like, no. You know, because I have been hand washing lamb jerseys for the last 3 or 4 years regularly. And like a lamb can wear the jersey, if it's dry and not covered in pee, the lamb can wear the jersey for several days and it's fine, and then you take it off and then they go off and they're alive and healthy. But if they are weeing on their jersey, then you know, you've got to get it off pretty quickly, because also like their little umbilical cord could get infected or something, I don't know. Okay, please, I hope no farmers are watching this because you're probably rolling your eyes, but anyway. I'm a lifestyler. I only have 11 ewes this year, so I reckon I've probably already got about 9 from previous years, and I've done this one, so I'll make it 10. I'm on another one, 11. We've only got 11 ewes, although they could have twins. So yeah, I need to just get it done really. And how fantastic, because I just hate this colour. I'm sorry if you like this colour, but this colour to me screams 1990s, again out of my mum's stash, and it's also very machine washable. It's got that kind of slimy feel to it. It doesn't feel like wool to me. So, I mean it is wool, but goodness knows, as I say, what do they do to it? I don't know. But good use for it. It'll be out of my drawer before next year, so I won't have to ever think about that again. That's my plan. Oh, there was something else I was going to say. Can't remember. It's gone. Throw that one away. Clean it up later. Right. Oh, wrong list. Here's my list. Lamb jerseys. The next one is oh yes, I was going to say, hopefully I will put a lovely picture here of a lamb in a jersey from last year, because there's nothing cuter than a lamb in a jersey. Now, I had my first ever commission that I did this week, and it was for a local woman who works, who's an older woman, and she has a bit of arthritis in her hands, and she works in the shearing sheds, and they're very cold, and she's an awesomely old school woman who likes wool and handcrafted things, and so she asked me to, she had a pair of fingerless mittens that she basically wanted more, and she paid me to knit her some. So she brought them in, I had a look at them, I measured them, I took some photos, and I made up the pattern. It was a little bit big, I think, when I finished them. I've already gifted them, so hopefully here's a picture. Yeah, and so if she wants more, which she initially said she did, she might do, then I will just make them a few rows shorter. But yeah, they were very sort of functional, basic fingerless mittens. And somewhere I have the ball band for that. what was cool about it was that I was visiting my daughter in Wellington and I bought the wool from a real yarn shop, because they don't have those in Pongaroa, and all our nearest satellite towns, which are 45-50 minutes drives away, don't have great quality wool really, or a large selection. So she wanted possum fur. I did look into spinning some for her, and I think I will do that in future. I've found places online that I can source bags of possum fur. My partner has started looking at dead animals on the road as he drives past to see if they're fresh enough to maybe pick up in it, because it was quite bizarre knitting with the possum fur. Now, I'm really quite annoyed that I can't see the door band. Oh, yep, I can. Here it is. Okay, so this was probably, and it wasn't expensive, but it's still probably the most expensive wool I've bought. Here we go. So this was what I knitted her gloves in. Zealana Rimu. It was a double knit weight, machine washable brushtail possum blend. So it was 60% New Zealand merino and 40% brushtail possum. Now apparently possum is, like alpaca, warmer even than wool. So it's very, very soft, I know that. So it was fun to knit with that. I did it in a denim colour. But what was so interesting is that the possum fur wasn't dyed. Either that or I didn't take the dye because it was black. And I have a black cat. So I was constantly knitting away, going, my cat's name's Jinx, and I'm like, her fluff gets everywhere. And it was like I kept picking out the bits of black fluff and then remembering that they were actually the expensive bits of possum. I find it amusing that possums are expensive, but there we are. Because they're just a pest here, and generally, yeah, we just kind of get rid of them because they are a problem. For our forests and our native birds and so on, they just eat everything, and they're quite vicious wee things. Soft and fluffy if you could actually get anywhere near them, but you don't want to do that. I think we've got a possum living in our woodshed at the moment, and it's they come out at night and cause quite a lot of problems. Anyway, that was my first ever commission. I was so excited to be paid to knit, and you just think, maybe it's possible. Maybe it's possible. I don't know. There are a few people that still really appreciate a good hand knit. Yes. And I know this woman would absolutely just love to have some good socks. Leg warmers she asked for as well. Yeah, I'm on a bit of a mission. I mean, obviously I don't want to drain her bank account, but she needs to be warm in that shed, you know, otherwise she'll get very sore. They work so hard. Now, so we're on to whips. Whew, exciting. I don't even know. Oh, we're 32 minutes. That's not too bad, actually. I'm quite happy. So I have a thing to say about the length of podcasts. I have been watching podcasts for the last few months constantly, and some of them go quite long, some of them are short. I actually really like the long ones because people seem quite relaxed and they just meander through information and ideas and thoughts. Sometimes they stop and they just knit, and they knit for a while, and then they tell you something they're thinking. And I'm like, for me, that knitters are very patient people, naturally, because our craft takes a long time. And a lot of the time we're trying to find activities that we can do that we can knit to. And there's not that many. I mean, sometimes I find even listening to an audiobook, there's too much focus going on there and too much focus going on my knitting, and my brain it starts to explode, and I have to turn off the book to get the knitting done or put the knitting down. It's normally actually turning off the book. It's terrible, but I love knitting, as you can tell. So yeah, it was really interesting. I put out my first podcast last week, and the only criticisms I got were that it was too long. And I thought, both of the people that sent me unsolicited advice that it was too long were from my previous opera singing days. Now, everyone involved with classical music is a critic. And that's why I've left classical music. I can't even, you know, it's like, at the time that I received both of those messages, that my first podcast was too long, I was watching the Grocery Girls episode 158, which was 2 hours and 24 minutes long, and I watched every minute of it. And I was just laughing because obviously neither of them had ever watched a knitting podcast before, or even Googled, like, put it into the YouTube search bar and realised that the average is, you know, it's about an hour. That's what we do. Not necessarily every week. Some people do it every month or whatever. Fine. And they're not all punchy, informative or marketing. That's certainly not my jam because I have nothing to sell you really. Although I did sell a pair of gloves this week. Anyway, it was quite interesting. So here I am at my whips. I'd just like to say I'm grateful to be part of the crafting community. It's a lovely place to be. You're also lovely. So I am, and this was the second thing I'm wearing, and I really have to apologise to my about to turn 26-year-old son. I am wearing your sock. Now, the main reason I'm wearing my son's sock to show you his sock is that I don't have sock blockers. Now, until I started watching podcasts, I've never even thought that sock blockers would be a thing. And I still, other than displaying the sock beautifully, can't work out why you would need to block a sock. Like it goes in your boot. Don't even know. And surely it shapes on your foot. Anyway, I guess if you're doing delicate lace socks, but who does that? Well, people with, you know, greater artistic intent than I. But yeah, so for me socks are quite practical. They're for keeping my feet warm, and sometimes they're for adding a pop of colour to an outfit because I'm, you know, born in the 70s and grew up in the 80s and everything's a bit matchy-matchy, and I cannot help but try and colour coordinate my socks. It's a disaster really. In terms of being cool, I'm not cool. I just can't do it. It's like green top, green socks. Gotta be. Yeah. Anyway, here is my son's sock. So this is obviously a pair of socks that is a work in progress. So this, I'm just checking that I'm not flashing you. So yeah, anyway, it's the best way to show it if you don't have sock blockers, isn't it? Really, on a foot. So I made him the same size that I normally make, but I just made it a little bit longer. And I'm hoping that with the ribbing, it will stretch. So it's a wide sort of 4x, ends up 4x3 ribbing. Yeah, and I'm quite proud of myself for learning how to do cuffs, toes, heels, contrasting and all of that. I am knitting this. So this is the Gallipoli pattern that I showed you last week. Gosh, I must have been wearing some of my own, a pair of my own. I've dug out the pattern for you. Here it is. So this pattern, do something about this naturally, but it's not on Ravelry. So there's a seated stitch version. I've done one of those, and this is what I'm doing here. So just a straight rib. So naturally in 1318. Okay, and it's a DK weight, rib, sock, contrasting toes, heels. Can't tell you what wool this is. It is left over from a crochet blanket I made last year, which I'll show you another day, one day. If ever I don't have any finished objects to show you, I'll start digging back through the old ones and show you what I've done. But so I don't know what that is. It's a grey, everything's pure wool. And this I bought out of a bargain bin from Evans. Oh, hang on, let's do the thing. Let's do the thing. It's called, oh, I've got to hide. No, I'm still hiding. Oh, there we are. Windsor. Okay. I'm so proud now. Countrywide Yarns. Windsor, 100% pure new wool, 8 ply, DK, and shade 54. So this is a New Zealand yarn, and I really bought it for myself, but I don't know. I have a little passion for keeping my children in woolen things. I'm perhaps making up for being a slightly neglectful mother when I was attempting to be an opera singer. That's quite time consuming, and it's not child friendly really. So yeah, I'm making up for it by knitting them woolly things. I don't know if that'll count, but I try. Yes, that's for him. I will finish that shortly for his birthday and take it with me to Wellington when I go to watch my daughter perform. She's doing Les Miserables in Wellington, and I'll go and watch that and see my son for his birthday as well. So it'll be a lovely weekend. Now, where does that leave me? I better go to my list. Oh, acquisitions. I'm so excited I actually have an acquisition. Hang on. So, as I said, I went to a real yarn store in Wellington. Was a bit overwhelmed. It wasn't like the greatest yarn store, to be fair. It was pretty standard. But it was nice to be able to touch everything and choose some colours, and my daughter bought some wool for her crochet. She's just taught herself to crochet basic little granny squares, and she's making a blanket. And so she bought some wool that keeps her busy when she's, keeps her calm when she gets stressed. I don't know where she gets that sort of tendency from. But anyway, I bought, so I did my first ever dyeing of my own wool. I'm quite proud to show you this. Yeah. And recently I bought the Ashford drum carder. So I've been for the last 3 years or so carding all of my wool by hand that I spin. And it's just from our sheep. And that was the most tiresome part of the whole process, was the carding. You know, it was like I was pulling like this, and I would get a sore neck, and it would just take so long. And it was quite a hot and sweaty and tiresome process. So I bought a drum carder. I had to save for quite a long time because it cost quite a lot. But I got it from Ashford in New Zealand, and I do find it quite exciting that one of the premier producers of equipment for spinning and for, just anything to do with spinning is based in Ashburton with the Ashford family, and it's like 3rd generation or whatever. And for me that was really good, because I bought my spinning wheel second-hand off Trade Me, which is the New Zealand version of eBay, for I think $30, or it might have been $50, and that came with everything, and it was in perfect functioning order, and I haven't had to do anything except buy a new threading hook when I lost mine, because I'm good like that. And I just liked the idea that I could buy all the replacement parts if I needed it from somewhere here in New Zealand. Also, I have a phone number. I can ring them up, talk to the people if I have a question. And it hasn't really happened yet, but at the same time, it's just, you know, sometimes you buy off Amazon or eBay or Etsy or something, and you just think, I just don't know whether I'm ever going to get any support with. I might be throwing money into the abyss and getting back something that I can't even work out how to use or adapt to my needs. Anyway, so my spinning. I bought a drum carder, and it changed my life. And I spun up an entire kilo worth of wool, which I'm hoping is enough for my next project. So here's my wool. I dyed it. I attempted to dye it black. I love bats. Look how big this is. It's like, it's so easy to spin from this. It's just like nothing like trying to do it from roll leg after roll leg. Anyway, so here's my bat. I dyed it black. It came out this colour. So it was supposed to be part of another project, gifted to someone else. But I decided that it was going to be for me, this first one. I love the colour so much, and I need a cardigan. I don't know. Well, I have a store-bought cardigan, but that's not wool. But I don't have I think I'm going to end up with about 900 metres. Now that means that I can't knit any old cardigan. I can't go for a big cable knit or something like that. So I bought, okay, this was quite a big investment for me. So this is like months worth of time to get to this point, and I'm spinning it up, and then I had to go and spend another $100 to get enough mohair for a cardigan. So I'm aiming for the Felix cardigan. Hopefully, here is a picture. I keep going to turn this way, and then I see how red my ear is because I'm quite stressed, and this is the because I'm talking to myself, and it's such a giveaway, isn't it? Oh, so I come back this way and I kind of look slightly more together, but it was like, sorry guys, that's just how it is. I need to stage make up my ear next time, and then you'll never know that I'm feeling a bit highly strung about the whole thing. So here's my wool that I've been spinning up, well, carding up. Then this is where I'm up to. I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there. Look at it, my beautiful. Oh, these are my skeins of wool. So I've been aiming to get close to a DK weight. Basically, I'm going as skinny as I can. Every time I do a big project in my spinning, I think, can I get down to the next size? I mean, the dream is to be able to spin fingering weight yarn. But I thought, I mean, obviously this is our own wool. It's pretty rustic. It's about as rustic as you can get. And washed in the sink, you know, dried on my airing rack. Dyed in a pot on my stove. I did discover that the dye does not stain the enamel on the stove, so that's quite a relief. And yeah, but I thought this might sort of soften it and give it that gentleness. So that's the Rowan Kidsilk Haze, which you're probably familiar with, and I'm going to have to stretch myself away to see what it's made of. 70% mohair and 30% silk. It is scratchy, isn't it? Like, I always think people are a bit soft when they say mohair's scratchy, but no, it is a little bit scratchy. Not as scratchy as that. This is like scraping your face with rope in comparison. It hasn't been washed to set the ply yet. I was going to wait till I got the entire length because I'm measuring it as I ply it and put it into skeins. And once I've got it all done, I will know how much wool I've got. Then I'll wash it all at once because I think some dye might come out. And yes, I just want to do it in one hit and hopefully get it reasonably consistent. That's the plan. That's the plan, team. Last extra plan that I'm going, oh no, second to last. Second to last. I'll cross that one out because time's getting on. I'll tell you about that next time. Unless I finished it, then it'll be an FO. Because I just like to knit. So that's a Felix cardigan. Right. Two more. Okay, so for my partner, it's his turn for some socks, and I had done one set of 4-ply, like fingering weight socks with a self-striping yarn. It's a Gallipoli. No, it's a Gallipoli wool, but I did the free pattern. I think it's called My Favourite Socks from Kristen Lera, Woolen Vine, I believe. Anyway, so, but I've done this before for myself, and I'll show you them one day, but with this kind of wool. And I just started the second sock wherever the last sock finished, but the stripes didn't match. So I thought, well, this time I'll make the effort to divide the wool into 2 balls, starting the wool at the same spot. Now, this is the first time I've tried winding a center pull ball by hand, because I don't have a ball winder or a Swift. And I've just normally been winding roundwards, but I thought, hey, I'll give it a try. I looked on YouTube. So this was my first attempt. Okay, and it's a bit wonky. And I was winding it around, it was the handle for a car jack for changing your tyres. Anyway, so, and here we are. So that's the wool there. It's a 4-ply shade 82451. Okay, it's got lots of blues, greens and browns in it. You can't see any of the browns. Here is the second one I did, starting in the same spot, and it is the same weight. So they're both from the same ball of wool. They are the same weight, and they both start in the same place. Obviously, I wound them quite differently, but this was my second attempt, and I think that's looking more like a cake should look. Hang on. There you are. Yeah, I'm quite proud of that. And there's a little centre pull. It's the brown is where it's going to start, and here's where the brown's going to start on this one. Ta-da! There we are. All right, so that was a bit of fun. It was a bit of learning. I thought it would be quicker than it was, and it was a pain. So it's tricky because I can't see myself being a person who every time is buying beautiful indie dyed wool that comes to me in hanks and skeins that I then need to cake up into, you know, centre pull balls or whatever. I can't see me being that person. So it feels like investing in a Swift and a ball winder is overkill, because I don't really need beautiful little matchy stacked up lots of wool. I mean, I'd love that, but it does seem like quite a financial investment that I can probably do without. So we're just mulling over that at the moment. But the annoying thing is that I have actually saved enough of my spending money to be able to buy these things. But maybe I might want something else more useful, I don't know. It's a problem, isn't it? I guess it's a first world problem when you actually have money to choose which toy you want to buy. And maybe I should just give it to the poor. I don't know. Anyway, so that's my second to last thing. My final plan. And I actually really need your help, because I was going to do a crochet set, and I might still, because I can crochet. Not very well, but I can. And it does seem potentially more appropriate. But I need slippers, and I'll tell you why. This is where we're up to, team. These are what I wear at home. They have, okay, so I just had to tape them up with like cloth tape and insulation tape, and they've got holes in the bottom, and I don't have a kitchen or a bathroom inside my house yet. So when it rains, I have to walk out, down the path, out the backyard to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And I need slippers. I need slippers with soles. So it's a bit of a problem. I can't quite work out what to do. I know you can buy the soles with the holes around the edges for attaching your knitted / crochet slippers to. I don't know. I would like to make my own. I do have leather, but I don't think that will survive outside. So I might just have to, like, might be the last time in my life that I have to buy outdoor slippers. Or I could just knit some lovely woolly indoor knitted slippers and then have a pair of Crocs that I just slip into and whip out to the kitchen or to the bathroom and come back. That's the grim reality of my life. So, you know, in reality we aren't so flash. But, you know, we do what we can with what we've got. And it's quite a lot, actually, for a week, isn't it? I reckon it is. Alright, so it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for anyone that actually clicked on my video last week. It's been a hilarious week going, you know, my partner was like, if you get to 100, you can quit your job at such and such. And I'm like, really? We got there, but it was a bit slower than we were intending. So, you know, you never know. Help me go viral. If not, I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and I'll see you next time. Bye.